Welcome to Wannabe Clutter-free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, the podcast for busy families who are tired of the chaos, fed up with being overwhelmed, and ready to enjoy life again. Each week, we talk about how to let go of the clutter so that you can focus on the things that actually matter. And it's not just physical clutter. We talk about the mental and emotional stuff too, because if it's holding you back, it's time to ditch it. I share what I've done in my own life to declutter, organize, and calm the chaos, but you won't just hear it from me. There are amazing guests too. It's practical, doable, and simple for those of us that want to be clutter-free. Hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 214 of the Wannabe Clutter-Free podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with Jane Abrams about organizing our homes. Jane helps people organize their homes in the New York area, and since she does this inside people's homes, she has seen a lot, and she is here to help us know where to start and how to know what is enough when it comes to the amount of stuff we have. It is a really fun conversation, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. But before we hop in, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for joining me today. I know you're busy, so we're going to get right into it. And if you do like what you hear today, could you just help out the show? There are a couple of things you can do. One, you can share it with a friend. Helps you get an accountability buddy with you when you're on this decluttering journey. Two, you can comment and share this on social media if you like. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free on the social channels, and that really helps out the show. And then the last way would be to leave a rating and a review for the show if you like what you hear. Really helps me out. All right, let's get into our conversation with Jane and learn more about her. She is the founder and owner of Jane's Addiction Organization. And after hearing time and time again from friends and relatives how impeccably organized her house was with 3 young children at home, Jane realized she had a unique gift that she wanted to share with others. Opening your home and your mess to a stranger is not an easy thing to do. And we talk a little bit about that no judgment approach, and we also get into the reason she named her company Jane's Addiction. So give this episode a listen, and when you're done, head over to wannabeclutterfree.com/214 to get the show notes for today's episode with links to Jane's website and her resources. Again, you can find it all at wannabeclutterfree.com/214. And now let's get to our conversation. Well, hey, Jane, welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free. How you doing today?
Great, great. So happy to be here and finally connect and be able to talk with all the listeners out there.
Oh, so excited about today's conversation because I focus a lot on decluttering, but you focus a lot on the organizing side. And I know you do decluttering too. So I'm sure we will talk about that too. But can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I've been organizing for many, many years, really before organizing became such a glamorous profession. Even such as being a little girl, my mom would always tell me that, I was very into cleaning my room, very into organizing, always had it in my brain, and it just comes naturally to me. Fast forward to where we are now. We do have a business here in New York. It's called Jane's Addiction Organization. It's been, up and running for well over 10 years. We have an incredible, incredible team of women here in New York. And really what we do is we do day in, day out organizing. And that could range everywhere from decluttering, like you mentioned, and really what we're going to focus on a lot today, all the way to clients who are doing construction and have to prepare their home, or now they're moving in, or an elderly couple now having to downside and go into assisted living, family members who can't be local or help their families. We jump in and help them too. The biggest thing too really is the nice part about the business is it's very flexible in how we work. So some days we are decluttering a garage, an attic, a basement, working in a kitchen that just has been redone, or helping implement systems to a family with young children. So the nice part about what we do is we really hit the scope, but all with the same premise of decluttering to enhance and impact your life. So that's what we do. And we love it. It's really something that we take pride in. We enjoy it. People don't understand sometimes how we enjoy it or why we enjoy it or why we're wired this way, but we are. And that's why we have a business. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta play to your strengths, and what works for you doesn't work for other people. And so that's what I love about the different walks of life. So, why do you think it is so important for us to get our homes under control, though?
So I think the typical answers, I think really what you share with your listeners is really true. And it really is decluttering your home. And there's so many facets to it. It really brings you like everybody knows it, but once they experience it, once they feel it, they can understand it. It gives you that peace of mind. We always say to clients, and they say to us, the second we start this process, they begin to breathe. They understand the somewhat to the extent that we help them to let things go and why we're letting things go. But I do think, the biggest thing for us too is the decluttering part is wonderful. We make it easy for our clients. We take a step back where we pull it all out and organize it, and once they see what they have, meaning like they have 10 hammers or 15 spatulas or 75 Maxbox cars, it allows them to begin the declutter process. And it's easy for us to say, great, let's declutter and throw it all out. But you know what? This is why they're calling us in to help them get to this process. So the decluttering really for us is about the calmness and the serenity and order and systems, but really for us too, in the end result, is about either whether it's now having your family be able to sit around the dining room table for the first time in years, whether it's now finally being able to go through all those beautiful family memories of your parents or grandparents, because now all your memorabilia is not shoved in a closet and on the floor and stacked high and you can't get to what you want to. Or your family can do a family bike ride because your garage has been inundated for the past 20 years and the bikes are all the way in the back and nobody could ride. So in the end result of why we declutter and why it's so important, because it really either brings you back to a family, brings you back to your calmness of your home where there is order, so you can do other things. Clutter really, and I'm sure we'll go into it more, stops you from doing things that maybe you want to do or always wanted to do and never could do. So that's really why there's so multifaceted as to what it means. But at the end result, that's why you're decluttering.
Yeah. Yeah. Digging deeper, I mean, it's so good. Oh, totally, and what I related to right there was you said the moment we start, and I even did it, like, on this side, I went I took a giant breath, and it's so true because it is so overwhelming when you haven't done it before or you've done it in the past and the house is messy again. It's just really defeating to look at your stuff and just be like, "Why can't I do this?" And you can, it's just sometimes so much easier when you have someone there to help you do it.
Right, right. And we always say this too. We always say, look, it's okay you have a personal trainer to help you at the gym. It's okay you might need a little design help because you're just now going to invest in renovating a room or doing some construction in your home. We're the same and we're no different. And it's okay. And there's no shame in having us come in. People always like, oh, I used to be organized and now I got this. Oh, before COVID, I always had a system. Before my kids went to college, this is what their rooms used to be. And there people do have shame. And so for us to come in, we have no judgment because this is we and people say, oh, I'm so sorry, it's so messy. Oh my gosh, I can't get into it. Oh, is this the worst you've ever seen? Which they always say that's the is this what you've seen? And for us, we always say we look at it, and I'm sure you can relate to this too. We look at it and always sees the opportunities. Always sees what we're going to do to enhance the space or find another storage room or find a space under a staircase or find that nook up in the attic that something's going to go. That's how we see it. So once they know that this is what we see and we don't see the mess, yes, we see it, but in a way that we'll get through it, it helps the process. It really, really does. Yeah.
But in such a different way too, because we don't have the emotional attachment to any of the stuff. We don't know the story, we don't know the baggage behind any of the stuff that is in the house. When you look at your stuff, you see a whole story of where it came from and who gave it to you and what it was used for. But when you come in as a third party, you don't have any of that baggage that comes with it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yes, and so funny you say this. So a couple of things. So one is, sometimes we're the neutral party. Sometimes we're the neutral party between siblings of who doesn't want this is yours, this is mine, or family members of, my kids won't listen to me. Even my own, I always say this, my kids are like, uh-huh, sure, sure, mom, I'll deal that with it tomorrow. I'll do it. So interesting enough, when you say that, we do work with a lot of teens, we do work with a lot of college kids, we do work with the elderly. So we definitely become that buffer sometimes. And look, nowadays, when we come to a client, we can FaceTime, children that aren't living local anymore, or cousins that, oh, do you want Aunt Sally's picture from so and so, and it somehow wound up in your world. But I do think, just going back to your point, though, one thing really important is when you say we don't know the stories, we don't. But the fun part is that once our clients get the process going, like we just said, they start telling the stories and they start sharing the stories. And Sometimes it helps in the, okay, now I'm done with it. I told you the story. I'm going to take a picture of it. I'm going to let it go. Or, oh my gosh, I have to keep this because this is so important to me. And we're good with that. Sometimes we always say that sometimes we override what they want to get rid of because their grandkids or whoever's going to want to see it one day. But at least now we know it's there and it's either labeled or binned or in a manageable way that it's not that overwhelming. And we're not just here to throw it all out because nobody wants it. We manage both sides of that, to your point.
Yeah. Oh, love that. All right. I want to switch gears just a little bit because I think we are regularly told that money can buy happiness. And I think the implication there means more stuff, right? The more money you have, the more stuff you can buy, the happier you'll be. But clearly, we have more stuff than ever, and studies are showing that we aren't very happy. So, why this disconnect?
Okay, very good question. So, because it could go a million different directions. So, it's not necessarily of having more stuff makes you happy. It's having the right stuff to make you happy. And we take that very seriously because, look, many clients have multiple sets of dishes, multiple sets of china, multiple sets of glassware from passed down generation, or they happen to have, a pocketbook collection that we would all dream of, or shoes collection. So, it really stems to really, what is bringing them happiness from their collections. And really, a couple of things. One is if we part with going back to decluttering, we part with what they don't need. Keeping the collections, even though it might be in abundance, is okay because it's making you happy. Maybe it's we have to display it. Maybe it's something that because there is so much of it, we'll do a beautiful display. Or you have so much of it, but let's use it. Let's get rid of the chip mugs and the chip glasses and all the things, the mishmash in your closet. And so what? It's fancy. Use it. We always say use the things you have. We do that also when we stage houses. It's great to go buy new things and new, things your own, but we like to use what you have because usually 99% of the time people have beautiful things. Oh, but that was for my wedding. I can't use that. I'm saving it. Well, you know what? Now's the time. And that might be the abundance sometimes, but so that's one part of it. The abundance of toys and the holidays and birthday parties and all the gifts and all the things that come in. Yes, that can be an abundance. Doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. And our favorite really I want to say is our favorite thing is when we come into either when we're working with children or in a playroom or a basement or so forth, where all the toys are. To us, there might be an abundance, but if those toys are played with, the stuffed animals are ratted because they're using them to play hospital and doctor or whatever they're doing, or the kitchen that the kids set up, it's okay to have the abundance if they're using it and really enjoying it. Yes, you can always get decluttered. I don't think the abundance brings you joy, but if we can find the balance of in both of those, whether it's for the adult or the child or the household, I think that's a nice balance, but it does not bring you happiness, but it can bring you happiness if it's used in the right way and if you're left with what really matters.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want you to share some insights from your own experience where you noticed that more stuff wasn't the answer. We'll be right back.
I'm Margaret.
And I'm Amy.
And together we host the podcast, What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
Margaret, I would say you're sort of a where are my keys kind of mom.
Correct. Sometimes a where are my kids kind of mom. Well, you're Amy more of a we were supposed to leave 35 seconds ago, mom.
I mean, touche. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, we come at a topic from our usually completely opposite perspectives. I bring the research.
And I bring kind of the gimlet eye. Like, is that research really going to work, people?
And almost 10 million downloads later, we're still laughing.
We also talk to experts in the parenting field, plus parents with stories we can all learn from.
We make each other laugh, we challenge each other's assumptions, and we have what we think is the best parenting community on the internet.
Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, welcome back. All right, Jane. So before the break, we talked about, looking at your own experience and you sharing some insights where you noticed that more stuff wasn't the answer. So let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, funny you should say that. So actually yesterday we worked with a client. We're getting their home, somewhat ready to go on the market. However, our team was there. I was particularly in this garage, and this garage has been filled for 20 plus years with furniture that they had to have, had to keep, had to eventually use for somewhere down the road, whether it was for grandkids or so forth. And very honestly, we pulled it all out yesterday. The goal was to pull it all out. I would say maybe two of the pieces that we kept behind because they had to have it, because it was in the abundance in this garage, it became molded. It became warped. There was, infested of animals that were living in their garage. Um, and really, it's because they had to have it and they had to have the abundance of this. Their house was furnished, everything, everybody had what they needed, but they had to have that control or that feeling that they had to keep it with them as the abundance. So that just actually just happened. The other really good thing that we always talk about is we just worked with clients and their children, and they did have a lot of things. They had a lot of collections, whether it was Pokemon and their baseball cards, and she had her Smushmallow pillows. We always say this story, and there was an abundance. I'm not going to say there wasn't, but as we worked with these kids, as we worked with both the boy and the girl, and we really listened to what they wanted and how they wanted their collections to be displayed or stored, they really let go of it. It was really the parents that were making them hold on to it, not the children. And we waited till after school. We waited till they got home. We kind of had it all situated for them. And we already had plans to put all the baseball cards in the albums and have everything. He was ready to let it go because he was now entering into middle school and high school and the older years. And not that he didn't want his friends to see it, but he was really ready to part with it and not have it on display anymore and have his friends come into his room and not be inundated with the abundance that he had. And so it was an interesting exercise of just really seeing what these kids want and listening to what they want, even though they had this abundance, it wasn't meaningful to them anymore. And there's many I could share. We talked about the china and the glassware and so forth. The biggest thing is having everybody use what they have if there is an abundance of, things in their home that they're not using.
Yeah. So, what would you say to someone let's go back to that furniture example where they're thinking, we've got to keep this furniture for this, that, or whatever. What are some of the ways you help people overcome that? Because obviously, if it's sitting in our garage, likely it's not, time is not your friend when things are in storage. So, how do we help people get over that?
So the biggest thing's funny going into the project yesterday, really in our minds, we had trucks ready to donate. We really were ready to pull out this furniture, help her let go what they didn't need, what the family didn't need, and really get it to donate. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But I do think what our biggest thing is, what we always say, and I'm sure you say it as well, is what we're gonna keep, what we're going to maybe try and sell or consign or, do something like that, and then donate. And once our clients kind of shift their mindset is to they're going to be able to bless somebody with what they don't need anymore, it's a game changer. It really helps them let it go. We share the stories all the time. We're, here locally, we're connected with all the synagogues and the churches and all and the veterans and so forth. And I think once people understand that it is going somewhere, not every time it could go somewhere. It just helps the mindset. And that's what really was yesterday was about, was her pulling it out with us and saying, now I'm really to let it go. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way, but 99.9% of the time, once they know that, or once they go, we're gonna drop the books at the library or at the bin down the block or whatever it is, or the veterans are gonna come pick it up or so forth. It just helps the process because it's not going in the garbage. And the hardest part, which I'm sure you see too, is that people are always like, oh, but when I bought it, oh, I spent so much and I invested so much into that dining room table, or oh my gosh, I invested so much into that wardrobe, or oh my gosh, when my daughter was born, the doll collection, whatever it is. To them, there's always monetary value that they think about. But once they understand where the world is today and everybody's excess, and you're not going to get back what you paid for it 25 years ago, it helps them understand it, digest it. Sometimes clients are more on board, some are not, so it's sometimes a process of phases, but really that knowing that it's going somewhere and helping somebody really is the key to all of it.
Yeah. Well, and two, right? Like if even if you spent a lot of money on it, the value was in the feeling you got when you bought it, the use you got when you used it. It You've used up a lot of that value, and you don't have to get it back. It's okay. Like there was value in. Yeah.
And you hold on to it, right? And it goes back to like the pictures and so forth. That it's always keeping the memories. And we always say this, the home is where the heart is. And just because you're now either sold your home or you got rid of that favorite, chair that, everyone would sit in, It's the memories. And that's really in a long time, in the long run, that's 10 times more important. And once they really understand that or understand why we're doing this process, they get it. They completely get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, easier said than done. If you've never done this process or you have things that you love, I totally understand it. It's much easier said than done.
But we all do. I do too. I mean, and it gives you comfort. It gives you peace of mind that it's somewhere in your house and somebody might want it. It's always somebody might want it. Well, what if somebody wants it? What if somebody needed that bookcase that we just gave away? What if somebody needs, a black skirt? Those are the obstacles that we help you get over to make those decisions.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, I'm in the middle of reading again The Subtle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. I'm actually listening to it this time. And I love that book. I think it's so great. It's so simple and so just short. But she does the same thing of like, as you're decluttering, if you think, oh, someone might want this, well, start asking those people now, right? Ask people in your family if they want this furniture now. Ask people if they want this black skirt or this picture or this extra china set because there might be people that want it now, and then that's gonna help you kind of alleviate a little bit of that guilt or just negative feelings about decluttering, and you'll know who it's going to. I also love our local Buy Nothing group. I'm sure there's things there or
Oh, I was just gonna say that next. Look, a lot of times we do that. We're on site. We'll say, either curb alert or, now with the way the world works, we are quickly shooting pictures constantly and sending them to every family member, or we are hooked up with all the local charities. Because there's so many ways now. You don't have to wait till everybody comes on a holiday 6 months from now, and that's taking up your space. And we know you're in a window, so you have till, 4 o'clock till that truck comes, or tomorrow when we finish the project, because it gives you that deadline. It gives you that, it's nice to have a deadline. It's nice to know that eventually it's gonna go. But yes, it's so true. Absolutely so true.
totally. So good. All right. So let's take another quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk with you about how to find what enough is for us. We talked about a little bit about that earlier on where we were talking about the abundance, but I want us to figure out how we can find out what enough means for us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Well, Jane, can you walk us through, how we can figure out what enough means for us?
Sure, sure, sure. I think when we are working in family homes, I think the biggest thing really when you say enough is it kind of goes back to what we first started talking about was, is it enough meaning your family can spend time? Is it enough meaning that you have what you need, where it goes in your home, where the systems are, so you can continue on, and that is enough? Meaning, like, yes, we talk about abundance, but what you have with you in your home is giving you the satisfaction or giving you the joy so you can do other things in your life. Meaning that when your kids come home from school, there is a system there. And this is where everything goes. And it's a lot about the routines and enough for your family, for you as, parents and so forth, of being able to have places in your home where everything is, or the calmness, so you can do more in your life. And that is where the enough comes. It's not the stuff that gives you the enough. It's the stuff that you can do together that will give you the enough. And it's the things in your home that are not bogging you down so you can't do the things to fulfill your life more. You don't want to get caught up in the things that are setting you back. You want to have the things in order in some sort of system. Doesn't have to be perfect, but everybody knows where their things belong, or things have a home at the end of the night, when you're cleaning up and you're doing your last minute, because the enough is not the stuff. The enough is being able to do what you want to do. Um, that's kind of how we look at it.
I love it. The enough is not the stuff, it's being able to do what you want to do.
It's not the stuff. It's really, and sometimes it is the stuff, but I don't want to negate the stuff because the stuff is very important. But again, it just goes back to your original point of why we declutter, because the stuff shouldn't take over your life. It should be part of your life. And in your world of, bringing it out when the family comes, or bringing when your kids have friends over because their toys are i- not all over the house and taking over the world. They know where they're playing, or you'll be able to do your work. So that's really what we strive for, to give you enough and to understand what enough is, because that will naturally happen that way.
Yeah, love that. All right. So if someone is new to decluttering, where do you recommend they start?
Yeah. That's a huge. So, the nice part is when we do get to walk through clients' homes, or we do a lot of virtual when somebody's not local. We really, we a couple of things. One is we always say start small. No matter what size your house is, no matter what your circumstances are, you have to make it attainable for yourself. And you see all the funny things online, or listen to organizers when everything's pulled down. You're like, oh my God, now what? It's 4 o'clock and my days are, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm hungry, whatever. We do that too some days. But you have to make it attainable and achievable, because once you see that you're able to do it, even if it's a drawer, and we always say to people, while you're on the phone, pull out the drawer. While you're having that conversation, pull out that junk drawer. And the biggest thing we say to clients is like things together. Well, why do you have to pull it out? Because once you see all the like things together that you have in your junk drawer, 75 things of scotch tape and 65 pencils and post-its and so forth, you need to see what you have, and that will help you with this decluttering process. So I think the biggest thing is start small. We always say, let's do areas where we know right away, it's going to be 90% of it's going to be tossed, because that's a big goal and that's something that you can achieve. It's much harder to do the things that have the sentimental or have that attachment, but maybe it was that garage that we just did, because even though it was sentimental at the moment, right now, she knew in her gut that it was really going to be let go, whether it's me donated or tossed or whatever it is. So start small, start where you have that attainable areas, because then you're going to feel accomplished. If you're going to start tackling a closet that's way overwhelming, you're not going to get very far. Maybe it's just the shoe section because now you're changing the season, or just the toy bins of just the things that you can do right away on your own, and really then take it step by step and phase by phase. That's how we really always approach it. Yes, if we could see your home and start it, or do virtual and really plan as to what it is. But if you're really doing this on your own, do something that you know is attainable.
Nice. All right. Well, tell me what your approach is to helping someone declutter and organize their home.
So, like we said, so we are able to go see a client's home. The biggest thing is that we see all the time, and this is funny, we always say this, is that sometimes you have to take 2 steps backwards in order to go forwards. And I mean, somebody will say, but I just called you to help me with my pantry. So we said, that's great, but we need to see your entire home, because we need to see how you live, how your kids are coming home, where they're dropping their backpacks, where you're coming with your groceries or your Costco, your backpack. We're not there to do your entire home, but sometimes if you call us for a certain area to declutter and so forth, it has to go somewhere. And 99% of the time, those areas that has to go somewhere are stuffed to the gills, or have things that the attainable areas that can be easily tossed or gone through quickly. So that's how we start. So sometimes we say we have to go a little bit backwards and then we will go forwards. And this is why we come with the team, because we do get a lot done in a day. So if we are going to say, for example, let's start and declutter in your kitchen, you have the beautiful platters and so forth that can't fit anywhere. But you know what? Right downstairs or right in your basement, you have this incredible storage closet that is now housing everybody's hand-me-downs that everybody outgrew the sizes. Well, let's pull that out quickly, go through them quickly. 99% of the time it's going to be donated. And now we just gain space to now bring everything from the kitchen or that area, the dining room, that now can go to another area. So we come with kind of a full prong approach of finding those areas, finding those spaces, and start to declutter. But again, it doesn't matter what we're doing. It goes back to, let's pull it all out, categorize it, see what you have, which will help in your decision making in the decluttering process. And that's with any area in the house. So that's how we start.
Yeah, the holistic approach, knowing that it's not just one thing, because generally there are lots of other players involved, lots of other things going on. So, yeah, I love the holistic approach. It's my jam too. So,
We always say, if you give a mouse a cookie, just because you start in one area doesn't mean, we have to go to the other area. And we're not every time, but we always try to find those little nooks to create the space, to create the system, if there is, to give you that enough, or to give you that attainability, because sometimes they don't see it. We come in with a different vision. So it usually works out really well.
it's funny that you say that. I actually did a reel like that based on that book. It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. All right, Jane. Well, this has been lovely. Where can people find you?
Oh, sure. So, like I said, we are based in New York, but the way it is now, we do a ton of virtual clients, but we are based here in New York. But you can follow us on Instagram at Jane's Addiction Organization. We do have a website at janesorganization.com. You can DM us, you can message us. And we love talking to clients all over, whether you're here local or not, because every little bit helps, and we would love to keep sharing what we do in day out and help everybody that we can.
Love it. And I have to ask you before you go. Well, I have three rapid fire questions, but before we get there, tell me about the name. Were you into the band Jane's Addiction?
So, well, it's funny. That's a really, really question. So, yes. So years ago, when we were starting this business, you have to find a name. Anyway, long story short, somebody said to me, "What about Jane's Addiction?" And at first I said, yes, I know the band. Absolutely. It's great music and all that kind of good stuff. I can't use their name. Oh my gosh. So anyway, really the premise behind it was, I was like, oh, addiction, that's not really great. Addiction, it just doesn't bring a healthy connotation to it. But then as we were talking about it, it's the addiction. It's the desire of a healthy addiction. And you know it, once you start this process and once you start the decluttering or you see the vision, you see the light, you see the opportunity, it becomes an addiction because you now see your home and it all stems back to the calmness in your home, the serenity or the systems, or now my children can have friends over. For us, it became a healthy addiction and it wasn't a negative, it became a positive. And so that's kind of how we look at it. And that's in many years later, and so it's funny. And the nice part is that a lot of, clients, it's a nice icebreaker. Oh, the band is my favorite band. Oh, my gosh, or, whatever it is. Some people know, some people don't, but that's how it started years ago. And so it kind of stuck.
Super fun. I had to ask it before I let you go. All right. So, my favorite way to end every episode is with these three rapid fire questions, though. So, number one, what does clutter free mean to you?
So I think it really goes back to what we said. It really goes back to bringing either your family or yourself to a better place, a place where you can do things that you always wanted to do and not let the clutter control your life. You control the clutter. That's how I look at it.
Love it. Number two, what's making you happy right now or in this season of life?
Oh, even better. So I didn't really talk a lot about the team, but the team that I work with day in, day out, that is what absolutely is the goal, is to continue to share what we do, continue to impact lives and continue to enhance somebody's life. It's just what we do and what we do best day in and day out. So that is a continued goal, hands down, every single day.
Ah, well, you lead me right into number three, which is what's a goal you have for yourself this year?
Oh, even better. So I think, again, I'm just going to go back to the team, not personally, just really because we are a company of women that do this day and out. We have a lot of things in the hopper, whether we have some product, but I think the biggest thing is really, and thank you for having me, because really sharing what we do best, sharing with, women like you who are really sharing the knowledge. And if we could be part of, that's our goal, to keep going out there. We're just starting to do a lot of outreach and so forth of just being able to share what we love to do. So that's a huge goal.
Ah, so great. Well, Jane, this has been lovely. Thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise and knowledge. And I know people are going to want to connect. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a great day. Well, I had a lot of fun with that conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it and got a lot out of it too. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that we can't let our own perceived shame hold us back from getting the life we want. A moment or two of being uncomfortable and stepping outside of what we normally do could be just the thing that opens you up to a whole new world of possibilities. But I would love to know your thoughts on this episode. What stuck out for you the most? So come on over and you can comment on this post on Instagram, or you can send me a DM. I'm at Wannabe Clutter Free on the social channels, or you can come over to the Wannabe Minimalist family group on Facebook and share there with the community. There will be a discussion thread for this episode, and we would love to chat with you in the comments. You can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts, a comment on Spotify, or a comment on YouTube where these guest episodes are found. And remember, share this with a friend if you think they will enjoy it too. Of course, special thanks to Jane for joining us on the show today and for sharing her amazing tips for getting organized. Remember, you can get more detailed show notes and all of her links by heading over to wannabeclutterfree.com/214 to learn more about Jane and get those resources. And as always, thank you to you for joining me today. If you like the show, go ahead and leave it a 5-star rating. And with that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you back here next week when I am chatting with Diane Bowden of the Minimalist Moms podcast. It is a great conversation. You don't want to miss that one either. All right, until next time, take care, keep things simple, don't let shame or embarrassment hold you back, and remember, I believe in you. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter-free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.